Hello, Susan. How are you?
Hello, Adrian. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you. We've had
Having a
our
bit of a giggle. We've had a
pleasantries
nice
and our
chat. Yeah.
catch-ups. Yeah, it's always good to talk about what's been going on in our respective lives and
Mm.
the
Mm.
way where we see the world when we catch up. And yeah, thank you for doing this podcast today. I
You're
really
welcome.
appreciate it. I want to do an interview, recorded one for a long time now. So it's
Mm.
good. Today's a day we can have a good chat and
Set something in motion.
yeah, for sure. Yeah, right.
Mm.
For both you and I, and also for anyone watching this as well. It,
Mm.
I think that's
Mm.
what the power of these conversations and videos are. I mean, they're not for everyone, but I think for some at least, you definitely get something out of it. I'm sure you've noticed that with some of the videos that you've done and the content, how
Yeah.
people resonate with it and respond to the
And it's
content.
always the things that you have no idea people are even going to listen, that
Mm.
they resonate with. Like, I'll put some things out and I'll think, oh, gee, that was so good. Nobody gives a shit.
Yeah, I know, right? Yeah,
I'll
yeah,
put something out that I'm really afraid to put out and I'm thinking, who wants to listen to this?
yeah.
And you get a really good response.
Definitely. Yeah, I've got. So I write a blog as well, and also my t-shirt thing. Like the designs with the t-shirts, I thought would do really well. That I really liked. I was like, people are going to want to buy. No, and then the couple of designs that I'm not that into myself, they're the ones that people have
It's really
been going for.
interesting, isn't it?
And I've got a blog which is like I wrote back in 2015 a particular blog post, which is my most highly viewed post, and
What's
it's
that about?
it's about men who take advantage of vulnerable women.
Oh, that's a
Because
good post.
I was witnessing a lot, especially in the medicine circles I was involved with, in the spiritual circles, where there
That
is a lot of
happens a lot.
vulnerability. Yeah, it happens a lot. And so I wrote this particular post about it, it's not the kind of post I really write about. Like
Yeah, because
more,
it was a bit negative, I
more, yeah,
suppose.
more on the negative side, like which is
Mm.
you need to speak about it, but it's by far been my most viewed post. And
Mm.
sometimes, because when you go on your WordPress sort of dashboard, it shows what people have typed into the search engines that have found your post, and like some of them have come up. And this is the reason why I've actually thought about taking the post down and being like, how to take advantage of vulnerable women. Like there's actually men
Oh
out
my
there.
God.
But that's
They
that.
want to
They
know
want
how
to, yeah. But that's that whole.
That's kind of scary, isn't it?
Yeah. What's that? Remember that thing? That dude had that. Like there was actually lots of young men doing it. The what was that? The game or where they were about like how
That's
to
right.
like when you meet a woman out at night,
Yeah.
how to weasel your way into their pants by these tricks. Remember
Yeah,
that whole
there's a
thing?
lot of videos on that
Yeah.
on the internet.
I
Yeah.
can't remember. I can't remember what it's called.
Yeah, what they don't realise is karma, isn't it?
Karma
Next life they
is
could
a
be a
motherfucker.
woman.
Yeah, yeah, exactly right.
Wouldn't that be
Yeah,
fun?
or their
Yeah.
daughter, if they have a daughter later in life, ends up, susceptible to it. So,
Yeah.
yeah, it's just interesting, I guess, like the different things that you share and that you put out there, how it resonates with different people, like you said.
It's true.
Yeah, yeah.
Like, I didn't think those alien things would be at all interesting for anyone.
Didn't you? Yeah.
Mm.
Have they been your most responded to or most feedback videos that you've done, those ones?
Yeah, but more personally. So
Right.
people will say something, but most people will send me a private message or a private email. They'll tell me privately what's going on.
Yeah. Why is that?
'Cause-
Why do you think privately?
Well, probably they're too afraid to say it publicly,
Yeah. Yeah,
Mm.
I wrote to you privately.
Yeah, you
It was
did.
the same thing. I didn't
That was
really.
beautiful. And I had a lot
Thanks.
of stories very similar
Yeah,
to that one.
I'm sure, right?
Yeah,
Like
the
it's a
third
common
eye thing.
Yeah.
Wow,
Well,
that
that's
was
why
huge.
the reason I had to write to you about it is because how similar your story was to mine. And we've known each other for a while, but I've never shared that. I haven't really shared that story with many people. But it was so similar. I was like, something's going on here. I have to like
Exactly.
share
And
this.
there is, and
Yeah.
it was surprising how many people have had similar experiences to that. All third eye stuff being frozen, some of them seeing beautiful images as well. But yeah. And I reckon that we have very strong connection to those star seeds, and they're going to make themselves more known. Mm.
In the interesting times that we're
Yeah.
currently in and coming
Yeah.
into.
Mm.
Yeah.
And I know that they're also underground.
Hmm.
You know, the
As
other
in
day
living in-
there was that seismic vibration that went out on the earth.
Yeah, I read about it. It was like a bell sound, is that right?
Yeah, I think that's coming from the inner earth aliens.
It came from Madagascar. They pointed off the north coast of Madagascar.
There you go.
Okay. Is that your feeling that it's, yeah?
I think it's inner earth aliens. And what I reckon it is, well, this is just what I've been told. Because I get told a lot of things, but I don't necessarily say it.
Right.
Because it's a bit out there, and there are plenty of people on the internet talking about stuff, so I just figure, what do they need to hear me for, kind of thing. But yeah, what I thought was, in what was it, 2012, the astral plane that we know that was created to block us from universal energies to some degree, to keep the Earth's atmosphere in a sort of like a grid, so that when people passed over, their souls went into the astral, and then they would have to reincarnate.
Okay.
So not many souls were able to go past that astral and go into other areas, and the astral was what our minds perceive heaven or hell to be.
Oh, okay, right.
So it's like purgatory, really,
Sure.
a holding place.
Yeah.
And then in 2002, there started to be a cleanup, but the cleanup wasn't really, it didn't come to a crescendo until 2012.
Okay.
And then that's when the astral got really thin, and a lot of people are talking about that, what is it, the veil is lifting, you know, they give this different terminology. And so to me that means that the access that we have to the other dimensions is getting more and more stronger.
Because this veil
Because the veil is getting thin.
Heaven and hell.
That's right. And between the earth and the universe.
Yeah, okay.
So even our solar system, we were kind of separated from our solar system in a way, energetically.
Okay.
And so now we have opened up to the universal energetic system, which we're starting to understand we are unity consciousness, we're all connected.
Yeah.
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 So even men and women, we're all connected through spirit, but you know, that whole equality gender thing, I saw something the other day about that. You know, guys were saying, oh, well, if that woman was bashed up and no man helped her, then that's equality for you, bitch. And I'm thinking, what the hell is that about? That's not equality. That's actually evil. It's not equality.
That's probably
if
a guy who couldn't get a girlfriend
man,
when he was younger.
Wouldn't you hop in? You know, and help someone. Anyway, but that's kind of opening us up to the universe. So that sound that emanated was like a call to the universe.
Okay.
What guidance told me some years ago, which kind of disturbed me a little bit, they said, if you were to hear the sound that we hear coming from Earth, you would hear a lot of pain and suffering.
Yeah, right.
You would hear a lot of children screaming.
Yeah.
You would hear a lot of sadness. And it really struck me, and I'm sorry, I get emotional, because when I just thought about that, and I thought, oh my God, the resonance that we're presenting, that we're living in, is that. And so it was after that I thought, I have to change this, and I need to kind of get people to realise that we have to be loving and kind to each other, and not be competitive and all the rest of it. But I think that sound was a call out to the universe to say, let's connect.
Right, it's time.
It's time. I'm getting goosies. It's time, you know. So the earth is now going, woohoo, you know, and the universe is going to start coming.
Yeah, and that veil is getting thinner and thinner.
That's right.
Because I guess like the idea of heaven and hell is a destination, isn't it? It's a place. It's not. It doesn't characterize the expansiveness of the universe and its potential. It's like a very limited.
Well, how arrogant are we to think we're the only living species in the universe? You know.
Exactly. I had I went to Peru a few years ago. I had a ceremony there where I think it was in Peru, this particular one, but like for a moment, like it was an Ayahuasca ceremony, and Mother Ayahuasca said to me, "Okay, Adrian, I'm going to show you the pain of this world, like, and just see. I just want you to see how much of this you can handle, and just so that you know what's going on. I think it was my second ceremony out of 5, and it'd already been an intense few days, and and I was like, okay, I was a bit naive about what it would be like, but because I'd experienced pain in a ceremony, I just, you know, my parents' pain and my sister's pain, so I thought I had an idea. But then she goes, okay, here we go, and I just, then all of a sudden I just felt like the earth's pain and all the population's pain, and I lasted for like probably a second and a half, and I was just like, I can't do this anymore, and I just vomited. I was just
my Lord.
This God Almighty purge. So it was like, I see it now as like it was a way to show me actually what was going on in the world. Like some people have different understandings. They get visions, or they might get like entities speaking to them, or some sort of communication. I'm one of those people that needs to be shown. Like that's the way I learn things. And and also when I think about that time, I think about what Terence McKenna once said about like when you have an experience of that, or like he was talking about ayahuasca specifically, is that once you have an experience of that, last thing you want to do is then go chop down a tree. Like it's like
your consciousness changes.
Your consciousness changes, and you feel what it is. You don't just, it's not like this external thing that you can hold an apathy about it. You are embodied to it now, and I think that's perhaps something that's happening on a more larger scale, Susan, is that we're all starting to feel it.
We're starting to feel it, and that's what guidance said to me. We're going from this mental industrial age of the mental perspective to the heart perspective, the emotions and the feelings, and people aren't coping with it well. And that's that whole thing of the veil.
Right.
That you and I are multidimensional beings. So we have a brain, we have a heart, we have a physical body, and we have a spirit, and they're all coming together.
Yeah.
And people who aren't in harmony are finding it tough.
Yeah, exactly. And they're holding on to, you know.
And they're really trying to hold on with more drugs, more alcohol, more this, more that, more...
Or more wealth, or more power.
Yeah. And look, the truth is, you can create wealth if you want it.
Yeah, sure. Yeah. Yeah, definitely it is.
Anyone can.
Yeah. And in a way that is on a more harmonic level too.
Look, I'm a firm believer that the wealth needs to be redistributed. So if it's in the hands of, they say 1%, I think it's maybe 10.
Right. What, 10% or 10 people?
10%
right, okay.
of the world's population hold all the finances to a varying degree. So why wouldn't you think that you can make that grow?
Yeah.
You know, I did this thing and I called it the abundance plane. And it was just one of those downloads that I got one morning, and I ran off so excited to tell someone, and they freaking stole the idea from me, little mongrels. But anyway, that happens when you're a spiritual proxy. You know, people just kind of, they like to take hold of ideas, but you can't really give someone else's idea or download when you don't understand it. It's just a concept in your head.
Right.
So what'll happen with me is I'll get a concept and then I'll work on it. I'll personally use that and I'll anchor it in, and then I share it.
Okay, sure.
And so what they told me was this 10%, and they said that there is you know how everything's in frequency, and we've got the dimensions, and then we've got the planes of existence within the dimensions, in which communication travels. So whether it's images, pixels, radio waves, it really doesn't matter, right? It all travels on a frequency within that dimension. So if you look at 3D, we had hardcore wiring, right? Prior to 1987, everything was hardcore wired. Right. And then 1987 hit and we got internet, so we went into 4D.
Yeah.
We
Wireless remote
opened
controls.
up, that's right, we opened up the frequencies.
Yeah, sure.
Right?
Yeah.
And so then we all became wireless and everything, and we understood that energy exists and we can tap into it through changing the dial. You know, and I know that there's heaps of people, I'm the same. I can lay in bed and I can listen to like a radio channel, and I can say, oh, I don't want to listen to that, and I can change the channel. And it's literally, remember the old days when you turn the knob and you go like this, and I go, and I'd listen to something else. It'd be just really bizarre. So what I feel is that these waves are realities as well. So collective consciousness exists within those waves. So you and I think, okay, we believe in Buddhism, we create a collective, and Buddhism now exists.
Right, sure.
So this abundance plane is the same thing. It's a plane of existence that's within a 3D reality where people really enjoy money. You know, where they love it, they have fun with it, they do good with it. But we don't see that.
No,
we're not
don't
brought
at
up
all.
like that, right?
Yeah.
But when it was originally created, it was created to bring freedom.
Okay.
And it was, you know, so you could move from one village to the other rather than bartering. So it gave freedom to everyone.
Yeah.
And it gave this sense of adventure, limitlessness, joy, you know. And
yeah,
then,
your survival wasn't just dependent on being in that one village.
that's
You could
right.
go elsewhere,
And now suddenly life opened up and we could go around. And then, of course, eventually some man said, I'm going to put my face on that.
Right.
So I'm going to now own it.
Yeah.
And I'm going to control it.
Yeah.
And then it all went kind of crazy.
Sure.
But even in our education system, we're not taught to enjoy it.
Yeah. No.
We're taught to work hard for it.
Yeah.
It's limited, not limitless. It's limited.
Yeah.
You can't do anything without it. So we've got all these different things going on. And I'm thinking, I got this download, well, why don't you tap into that? And it's a very thin line. And they said to me, if you got a whole load of people to tap into that at one time, you would open up that line and you would start to energetically transfer the money from the really rich, down.
Bring it down.
Yeah.
Force that trickle down.
That's right, to people and open it up.
Yeah.
And
or attract it in, I should say.
Exactly. And interesting what's been happening, okay? Big businesses, banks, all of those, all the corruption, it's all being revealed. But also they're losing their status. They're losing their power.
Like that Banking Royal Commission, for example, has been a massive thing in Australia.
And the bigger companies, they're losing their power. So it seems to me that even a small percentage of people, because I know that there are other people that got that download at the same time as me.
Yeah,
you know,
sure.
So they're all doing their bit in their community and everything. And so I really do feel that things are changing because our consciousness is becoming aware that we're not limited and stuck in those paradigms. We can actually create something else.
Sure.
But we have to go out of the paradigm of the mind to do so.
And can you elaborate on that a little bit further?
Because the mind is like... the mind is what gives our energy direction. So it's more like electricity, isn't it? Goes out, it focuses on something, that becomes your focus, you move. So my concept of manifestation is I think of something, I send a line out between me and that thing. Whether it's a wave, a line, a frequency, it doesn't matter. I send it out in a vision and I have to add a feeling to it. Does it feel right to me to have it? Do I feel worthy of it?
That's a big thing.
Right?
Yeah.
Do I feel I'm capable of creating it?
Yeah.
And are the people around me going to help me to create it? So there's a number of things. So say, for instance, I put a line out, I say I want to create something. Someone comes along, I start telling them, and then they go, oh, do you think that's a good idea? You know, maybe this could happen or that. So now a Mack truck is over my line. And I've got to go over that Mack truck in all my doubts and my fears. So my timeline to when I wanted it and when I get it is now shifted.
Sure.
So to me, the emotions play a very big role in whether or not we get what we think. Because they're magnetic, right? So this is electric, this is magnetic. And as we're moving into this 5D experience, we have to come into equality with the male and female aspect of ourselves as well, not just in community. So it means the magnetic aspect of myself or my heart my feelings has to play a role as much as my heart. So I say to myself, well, my mind is in service to my heart, to what I want, because it's my heart that actually tells me the truth, not my head. Because my head will go, but Susan, you don't know anything about that shit.
Yeah.
How can you do that? That's not possible.
Yeah.
But my mind will go, but I really feel I need to do it.
Or your heart.
Oh yeah, my heart,
will,
sorry.
Yeah,
will
this
go,
is what I
really
desire.
Feel, exactly. And I believe that spirit speaks to us through our heart and not our head.
Yeah, definitely.
So when people go, oh, I got a message to... look, I have literally... This is going to really freak you out now.
Go on.
I have literally had people sit in front of me that I've done a reading for or something, and they've come back to me and they said, you know, Susan, my guides told me the other day, you've got a karmic debt to me, you need to clean my house for a year. Really? Seriously? You need to clean my house for a year? And I've gone, I didn't get that message.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking, where the hell did they get that message from? It wasn't their heart, because you wouldn't really seriously sit in front of someone and say, you have a karmic debt to me, you have to come and clean my house for a year.
That's
no,
hilarious.
seriously. Yeah. Or you need to write this book, but I've got to put my name to it. You need to give me symbols that are going to be... I have all sorts of weird things.
Yeah.
And I'm sitting there going, where is this coming from? It has to be the mind and the ego. It can't be the heart.
Yeah, definitely. Being fed by like insecurity and like... shame or whatever, like, and that's how it manifests itself.
But yeah, so I'm thinking, well, the whole thing of this manifesting is really about getting in contact with our heart.
Right. Yeah. What
inspires us? You know, when you go to a job every day that you hate, thankfully, I haven't had to do that in my life. I've been really lucky.
You're one of the fortunate ones.
I'm very, very lucky. I consider myself a lucky person. But I reckon that if you... I see people that go and they have all this political stuff going on in the office or wherever it is they work, and I can't imagine getting up in the morning and having to go somewhere and give 8 or 9 hours of my day to something that I feel I get very little back from.
Yeah. I have two thoughts on that, right?
Yeah.
Like, for sure, ever increasingly we have the ability to get out of that. But also I understand now too as a father how like sometimes you just got to do what you got to do as well. Like, and we live in this world that's been set up, we're born into this reality where we make what they call it a social contract. We've made this social contract, you're going to work for this culture, this society. We don't get a choice in that contract, so it's not really a contract.
Yeah, but
and
you've chosen to do that though.
You mean,
say for instance, if you
before we come into this body, or like while we're in this
I think things get moved around. You know, I think we have signposts. Just from the readings that I do, I think we have signposts that...
Oh, yeah, most definitely, yeah.
But then what we do...
It's whether we have the courage
whether we take it...
Yeah, exactly,
you know,
for sure.
Defines how it turns out. But even what you're saying about going and doing work that you don't really like, but you're a father, well, you're choosing to do that, though.
Yeah, sure.
It's a choice. You're not saying, I have no choice.
Yeah.
You're saying, you know what, I'm happy to go there, I'm earning this, I'm paying the rent, I'm educating my daughter or what have you. So it's a choice that you make. I choose to do things I don't necessarily want to do, but I don't hang out in the frequency of being a victim or being toxic towards the person that I'm doing it for, because I made a choice to do it.
Most definitely, yeah. That's the thing I think people don't realise, that if they decide not to, like... I'd have to say, like, I actually do really enjoy my job. I'm a landscape architect. I get to work with amazing people and do some... But I had to make tough choices in previous years to be able to get to there. But what I was going to say though too, like with, say, someone like yourself who feels like being fortunate not to do that, you've still had to make choices. You still had to make... It's not like it's all been like rosy and okay, I'll get to live a life I want to live.
No, it hasn't. I've had really tough times. But I've also I've let go of some pretty amazing opportunities.
Right. Okay.
Right, and like no, I'm being very serious. When I came out of the closet spiritually, I'd say, I had people running towards me from the States, promoters.
Did you? Yeah.
Like Hay House, everyone running towards me.
Yeah.
We will do it was at the time the classical videos and tape recordings, not CDs or DVDs, and books and everything. And I froze because I could see that I would lose myself to that thing.
You become property.
I felt I'd be owned, and the one thing I like is freedom.
Yeah.
So, and also a few things that I've done, and then they've represented me. This was like in the 90s. I would do articles, and what they wrote was nothing that I said. So now I don't do anything unless I have full freedom to read the article before it gets printed and everything, because people represent you in such a scary light.
Yeah.
I had my own television program offered to me years ago as well. I've had a lot of opportunities that I've turned down, and people might think, gee, she's crazy. No, I'm integral.
Yeah.
Right? If the show that they wanted me to do was all fear-based, haunted houses and things like this, and I said, I don't want to teach people about fear.
Sure.
I want to teach them about how to embrace their spirituality and their loved ones, not fear them.
But that doesn't draw people in as much as fear-based. So like people just get so drawn into that because they aim for that reptilian part of our brain that's like the first responder. That's where the money is at the moment.
We want the excitement.
The drama. Yeah.
Well, I'll give you drama. I'll send a UFO over to your house. Wouldn't that be funny?
Yeah, it would be.
Yeah. So, you know, like, and I'm thinking, well, I've chosen to have a more simple life rather than that out there life.
Yeah.
And it was always my choice. And certainly when I had my son, it was the same thing then. I could have done things that would have made my life economically easier, but I chose not to, and it made my life harder.
Right.
You know.
But worthwhile.
But it was worthwhile because at one point I did have a job that I was working very intensely on. When he was really little, I went back to work a bit too soon. And I remember the point was, I think he was about 2. And the weekends I used to spend just getting, you know, everything ready for the week, for his daycare, for food, everything. It was just horrendous. And then one day he walked towards me, Mummy, he wanted something. And I put my hand out and said, no, I'm busy. And the look on his face crushed me. And I realised what I was doing to my child.
Right, sure.
And I said, this isn't worth it.
Yeah.
So I quit.
Yeah. Some people don't make that distinction though, do they?
Yeah. I couldn't do it. And I quit, and I lived on the smell of an oily rag for, I think he might have been around 3.5, 4, and then I put him back into daycare just for a few hours, and I started just working a few hours, you know. I couldn't do it to him.
Yeah. And fair enough.
Yeah, but it made my life a lot harder.
Yeah. Something you brought up a little bit earlier, and we thought we'd sort of look at and discuss was of that around inspiration.
Oh yeah.
And
that's right.
what it is and how we can tap into it. I think it's something that is the idea of inspiration, the topic of inspiration, is quite a fluid one for most people, myself included. How we can tangibly inhabit it and let it flow through us. It seems to like come and go, and and we can get like quite weirded out by, or like feeling like if we're not feeling inspired that there's something wrong or whatever it may be. What's your sort of thoughts around it?
Myself. Yeah.
Experiences with it.
Yeah, because you know, there are times when you feel like you're on fire and everything's flowing and you're getting all these downloads and ideas, and it's wonderful. And then I went through a period where I felt, because I'm very connected to spirit, so for me that's where my inspiration comes from. But it'll also come from nature.
Right.
colours and things like this, suddenly I'll just go bang. You know how it is when you're creative, you kind of go, oh, that's a nice colour combination, and then it hits you with something. But yeah, and at some point I have these waves where I feel like guidance moves away from me and I'm empty, and I don't get anything. I'm just not inspired at all. And for me, inspiration is about learning a new technique.
Oh, okay.
You know, and it's about knowing what's going on the planet.
Yeah.
Why is this happening? Ooh, what's that? And when I don't get an answer, it's really freaky for me.
Right, okay.
Because I'm used to tapping into something whenever I want.
Yeah, yeah.
So I don't suffer from a lack of clarity normally, or insight, you know. So when I feel that they've moved away from me, it's like I'm disconnected even to myself.
Okay.
And so I feel those times are like being in a void, and it's a time of emptiness. And I usually take it as, hey, Susan, you need to do a bit of work on yourself. Right,
sure. Right? And consolidate perhaps what's been going on.
So I take a bit of time out. You know what's really interesting, Adrian? When I have those times, I don't work either. And I know that's going to sound really sort of precious, right? But I'm not precious.
Not really, though. Yeah.
Right? It's just that I'm fortunate that something will happen, even if I'm just paying the rent and barely buying food. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, sure.
But something will happen that will enable me to have that time out.
Yeah, okay. Yeah.
So it's I don't know what it is, but it usually happens. But I just have to go into this quiet space in myself, and then just start looking at life again, walking, being in nature, reconnecting with people, because that inspires me as well. Definitely. You know, when you're in this Groundhog Day thing and nothing new's coming because nothing's inspiring you. So I usually go back to basics. So I'll go into meditation a lot, and I'll go deeper within myself. And then after a period of time, the downloads start and the inspiration starts, and I get new techniques again, and I get new something else. Right,
sure. So rather than sort of try and muscle your way through it and try and create something, just sort of surrender to what's going on. And
I withdraw and I take time out and I just sit with myself. Yeah. And I don't have, you know, like I don't listen to TV. I don't listen to music. I like a lot of silence so that I can hear things. So I just go into a lot of silence. Sometimes I'll go do these Buddhist retreats, the silent retreats. They usually help. Or I will go do something completely new. Like I'll go visit a new place, or I'll go visit family, or I'll go do an art class, or I'll just go do something that I don't normally do.
Take yourself out of your comfort zone a little bit. Yeah.
And that'll push me through something.
Yeah. That's a really... it's a very, the word profound keeps coming up. I don't think it's profound's quite the word, but a real positive step towards reclaiming or finding that flow is by taking yourself out of your comfort zone and doing things that aren't in your normal daily structure. And it could just be the smallest thing, but it opens up this, like, it's almost like creating a gap in a quasi field around you to like allow the inspiration to come back in. We're creatures of habit, but when we can break those habits, it's a really powerful experience.
Yeah. Like even for me, you know, doing medicine, for instance, I never did anything like that before in my life. I mean, I actually chose to do that as a gift to my husband, not really? As a gift to me, no. Sure. I was actually really calm, which I was very surprised at, because drugs and me don't mix. Alcohol and me don't mix. Right. My father, who's departed, so I can talk about him openly now, beautiful man, and I had a very beautiful relationship with my dad, but he was a hippie and he liked to smoke, you know. Okay. So he had this dinner party one night, and I was probably in my early 20s, you know. And he said to me, "Oh, you know, I've got this really good ganja. You should try some." And I'm like, "Dad, I don't do drugs. They just don't work for me." And he goes, "Look, Susie Wong," that was his name for me. "Susie Wong, you've got to try this. It's really going to blow your mind. You know, we're going to have this dinner party." So I said, "Okay, I'll try one puff."
Yeah.
So I had one puff, and he had this 2-story place. So I went upstairs to go to the bathroom. I got in the bathroom, and it hit me. And he used to have this little apartment, of all places, in King's Cross.
Oh, right, okay.
Right, so of all the places to get stoned
So that's
for
where
the
you
first
were, in
time,
King's Cross.
I was in King's Cross.
Yeah, right.
So I'm upstairs in the bathroom, and suddenly it hit me just from one puff, and I felt like my crown chakra opened up, and 100 voices were talking to me at once, and I just thought I was going insane. So I started rocking backwards and forwards. I got the cold towel on the back of the neck. I did all of that, and then I suddenly hear my dad go, "Where's Susie Wong? Where's Susie Wong?" And I said, "I'm up here, Dad, you know." Anyway, consequently, he had to shut down the dinner party because I needed to go to the hospital.
Oh, really? Right.
I was completely paranoid.
Yeah.
I couldn't cope. And anyway, he didn't take me to the hospital. He made me have a cup of tea and watch some TV and try to focus on something, which was actually really good. But I bummed him out because he didn't have the dinner party. So bummer, you know, he was. Have you ever seen Seinfeld?
Yeah, love it.
Do you know Kramer?
Yeah.
That's my dad.
Is it really? Yeah, right.
Totally.
Okay. Yeah.
Really tall and really, he'd go like this, you know.
Sure.
Like Kramer. Oh, that's a bummer. He had this really unusual way of thinking.
Yeah.
So that was my experience with drugs.
Okay.
So to go from that experience to going and sitting with something that I knew was a lot stronger than that experience, I had to be really brave and really calm. Yeah. And I had a really beautiful experience. I was very lucky.
Okay, nice. Yeah. Was that recently or?
No, it was a few years ago.
Okay. Yeah.
I've had a few now since then. But there's only one person I do it with.
Right. Yeah.
Because I really trust that person. Because to me, what I found with it was whoever you sit with, if they're not in a high frequency, you won't go to a high frequency.
No, definitely.
They denote where you go.
Exactly. Yeah, well, they create that space.
They create the space.
Sure. Definitely.
And you've got to feel really safe. And I did feel safe.
Yeah. That's totally true. I mean, one of the positives of what's been going on around the world with more understanding, awareness of these medicines is that people have been able to experience them and gain healing and wisdom and whatever it is.
Yeah.
But also on the flip side, it's also opened up the opportunity for people who don't have the best intentions and are doing it from a negative space. And so people go to that, experience it with them, and they come away from them with quite terrible... I've heard some quite terrible experience. I've been fortunate, but there's one particular one that I had. It was the third ceremony in this particular 5 ceremonies in Peru where we had a different woman come in to do it, and I could tell straight away she didn't seal the room properly, and there was gaps everywhere. And I never really before the ceremony, the idea of
so
demons
you went out of your mind and into your space by recognising there were gaps.
I could feel the gaps as the ceremony was starting. Yeah. I was just because become hyper aware.
That's right.
When even before you drink the medicine or whatever it may be, and at the beginning there's a hyper awareness that comes in. You understand exactly what's going on around. Well, if you've
opened up already.
If you've done the work on yourself and you understand that, and I just knew there was gaps everywhere, and sure enough, 2 people got possessed during the ceremony.
Oh my God.
And I was never really I was open to the possibilities that could happen, but I never really thought that's for real. But now I believe in because I've witnessed it, demonic, whatever is demonic or whatever you want to call it, but let's just say negative, dense energies inhabiting.
Oh, it's real.
It's real, right? Yeah, I know that to be true now. And it was just a real lesson in we didn't get a choice when we signed up to do this group of people from all over the world, we didn't know this particular woman was going to be doing this. So it's not I got a choice that I can't get to sit with this woman. It sort of got thrusted upon us, and we're okay, that's cool. And but yeah, now like it's just so important who you sit with. It
Really,
is.
really important. Yeah.
Because they do set that set. They have that set and setting. They hold that space for. It's like I envision it like almost like a spaceship. You're going on a journey.
Yeah.
And you're going on the medicine facilitators or the shamans. You're going. That's why I just visualize. You're going on their spaceship, and how comfortable you feel on that vessel.
It's how comfortable they are in their life.
Exactly.
In a lot of ways.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there would be. Yeah, I certainly wouldn't do it in certain circumstances. Or I'd be very careful.
Yeah, definitely. But again, with such a proliferation of it now, it's sort of a lot of people
really
are taking
big,
it.
isn't it?
And I guess that's what going back to the article that I wrote around, like people taking, especially men taking advantage of vulnerable women. It's because there's vulnerable people that are a part of it and become into it, and they just get picked out quite easily.
They did a lot of research on when you place men in positions of power and what they're willing to do in that position of power, and it's pretty gross.
Yeah.
What they discovered.
Yeah.
How easy they can be moved over to
because
behaving unethically. Look, I used to be a therapist, right? And I used to get people referred to me from they would be referred to me from a lot of different high-profile psychiatrists, right? And I can tell you that those people in those positions are sexually abusing their clients after a session as payment for the session. Yeah. So
it goes on, right?
It goes on. It's been going on for so long, and it's very difficult, because if I say to the person, I feel you need to report, I can't report it because it didn't happen to me.
Sure.
And I'd say, oh, well, I think, it'd be really wise for you to report that. They're too afraid because that person's in a position of authority, knows all their secrets.
Yeah.
Knows their vulnerabilities.
Knows how to play mind games.
They're just too afraid.
Yeah. Play on their emotions.
They're very manipulated.
Yeah.
And I unfortunately get to witness that a lot.
Yeah. The manipulation thing is a massive thing, isn't it, in those power dynamics? Like,
it is, and it's not just men.
No, of course.
To be honest,
no, it's not. No, yeah. But there is like a, there can be like a...
Men do it for sex, women do it for another reason.
Sure, exactly,
which is sometimes even more bizarre.
Yeah. It's just different, right? Exactly. But there can be power dynamics that can come into play if it's done with respect and like an understanding and awareness. I'm just thinking, especially around sex and things like that. But when it's done in a gratuitous manner, in a way that's manipulative and the other person's being taken advantage of, that's much more prevalent than any kind of respectful.
Oh, I think it's really disgusting.
Gameplay or whatever people might want to look at.
If you're going to someone because you've been sexually abused and then they sexually abuse you, it's pretty.
I know, right?
That's going to really screw with your head.
Yeah, it's such a huge issue, isn't it, in the world?
It's a
that
massive
idea
issue.
of sexual abuse.
Look, I was going to write a book years ago. And I decided not to do it because I actually got a message from Spirit: if you do it, you'll be dead.
Okay.
Because I was going to crack the whole thing open.
Right.
And
what's going on? Yeah. But it's starting to come out.
It is starting to come out, but this is like 30 years ago. I was going to crack it open. And I don't think the world was ready at that point, but they said to me, "Oh, you'd be dead. Yeah. Don't do it."
Yeah. Because there's some real players involved. Yeah. Like that, I got into after Layla was born. I never really wanted to put too much energy towards it, but for some reason, after my daughter was born, I got into this. I had to know what's going on, because I was always didn't want to know. I wanted to be naive about it. But then, like the Jimmy Savile thing and Rolf Harris and all what went down in the UK, I sort of started getting into this slippery slope of the dynamics at play with
and
some
it's just
of the
as big in
power
Australia.
brokers. I'm sure it is, yeah. It's insidious and it's and it's there, and what the fuck we do about it, I don't know.
Well, we're doing what we're doing. We're exposing it, and parents like you are getting educated to know
That's
the signs.
It's the education,
and
isn't
you're
it?
bringing your little girl up to honour. Look, I'll tell you what I worked in was sexual abuse, ritual sexual abuse, and I did that for 7 years of my life, and I seriously dedicated my life to it.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, working 6-7 days a week, 24 hours a day. If I took someone on as a client, now I'm going to be really serious now. I was very serious. I used to take life very seriously. And so if I took a person on as a client, they had to sign a contract with me.
Right. Yeah.
They had to sign a contract of commitment.
Okay, that they were going to do the work. And,
exactly. Yeah. And I would give them in return 100% commitment, which meant if they woke up with a flashback at 3 in the morning or a bad dream, they could ring me.
Okay.
So that's what I mean by 24/7.
Yeah.
You know? So I didn't intend to marry. I didn't intend to have children.
Right.
I was dedicating my life to this particular awareness and helping people because I was, when I was young, I was in foster care and in orphanages and things, and I don't publicly speak about that. And I had some pretty horrendous things happen to me. And when I was 19, I realised that if I didn't get help, I would kill myself.
Right. The pain was too much.
It was pretty bad.
Yeah.
And so I went to a guy that I contacted recently when I was in Sydney because he really helped me. And he was honourable and he was clear and he really helped me. And it was from that I decided to become a therapist because I thought, well, this guy's basically given me back my life.
Right.
So why wouldn't I want to do that for other people? So that's why I became very dedicated to what I was doing.
Yeah.
And when I finished studying, I was offered a job with the police force because I passed with honours. So they go in and they get the best students, you know. So they wanted me to work in the trauma with trauma victims and stuff. And I was like, no, I don't want to work in a system. I want to work out of a system. And I want to have my own clinic, which was bizarre, you know. I mean, how on earth could I possibly think to do that? Put a shackle up and expect people to turn up. But seriously, people just found me, and I don't even know, because there was no internet or anything at that point. I mean, I don't even know how people found me. But I think it was because my intention was so clear about why I was doing it and who I wanted to help, that all of my clients, I mean 100% of my clients, were people who'd been ritually abused. And ritual abuse as in part of pedophile rings, part of satanic cults being ritually abused in that. I used to get the worst cases that you would see on TV. And those people would come to me, and I'd dedicated myself to repairing. And I can honestly say that with some you can't, it's not possible. It's just not possible to repair the damage that's been done. You can help, and what I came to understand, and I'd get people from America, from England, and they would come, and I would the way that I was set up was a person could come if they were from overseas, and they could spend several days with me. And I'd work with them, just with that one person, for several days, and we would go through the rituals.
Right, okay.
Right?
Yeah.
Because it was like what I said on one of my videos. I could see spirit and hear spirit, but I never talked about it.
Okay.
Right?
Sure.
So I was never open about it. And I didn't... So people would come to me, some people, and I would just pray. God help me, what am I... You know, I was young, I didn't really know my own sexuality, let alone anyone else's. Like, do you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah,
I didn't really understand the whole energy of it.
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
So, you know, I've got grown men, young women, you know. It was 50%, men and women. It wasn't just women. And so I would go, okay, what do I need to say? What do I need to do? Because what we learned didn't equip me for the content of what I was hearing.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And it didn't equip me for what I needed to do in order to help these people, because what they had gone through was nothing that you learn in a classroom or a textbook. It's just not written about, which was why I wanted to write about it, because I wanted to put on paper the different ceremonies. Because you know how we have the Holy Sacraments in the Catholic Church? They have their Holy Sacraments. And because I work with so many, I understood what they were, what those rituals were. And it was, the weird thing, someone from America, someone from Europe, England, Australia, all said the same story. It didn't matter. They weren't connected with each other. Right. It didn't matter where they came from. They all had experienced the same story.
Right. Yeah.
Right? So I was connecting the dots. And you know, you'd handwrite your... I love handwriting. We've lost the art of handwriting, but to write out people's, I'd write down what I did with people, and then I started to see the connections and everything. Because when you write, you remember more.
Definitely.
You know? Yeah. And so I had all my patients' files. And I started to piece them all together of what was going on. So that's what I was going to write about. I was actually going to write about these ceremonies and how to unhook people, because what guidance was giving me was how to release them from the oaths, the contracts. Because even when they're really young, they're getting them to make oaths and contracts to them or to this evil, or to the group of silence and obedience, and same like the Catholic Church, really. You know. And so I think at that time, had I written it, I think I would have been killed for sure. Yeah. For sure.
That
now maybe not
they wouldn't
so
want
much.
To get out there. Yeah.
But when I left, when I had my son, I decided not to work in that anymore. That's what I mean.
Right.
Like my life became a lot harder in some ways.
Yeah.
And that's when I had to open the door to the spiritual stuff, because I thought, well, to be honest, shit just started happening that I couldn't control.
Right. After you stopped with that work and had your son? Or
no, even while I was doing it. Like, I would get off, you can imagine this, right? So I never drove at that point. I used to catch public transport everywhere. I had this thing that if I drove, I'd kill myself. So I used to catch public transport, and I used to live in Coogee. And there was an apartment building. Yeah, there was an apartment building right on the cliffs of Coogee, and I used to live in that apartment building. And so I would get off the bus and I'd walk along the beach to go home as my way of, letting go of the day.
Yeah.
And one time I got off the bus, and it was like my whole being, this is really weird, it was like my whole being kind of, Susan was gone.
Right.
Now I was this energy form. I knew there were people on the beach, there was people everywhere driving, passing cars. I didn't see any of that. What I saw was the tree, the bird, the sand, the sea, the air, the plants, the beauty of nature. And anything I thought of, I became one with. So I kind of really got to know that tree, you know? And then I would kind of, my attention, not my eyes, but my attention would be drawn to something else, and then I would become one with that. And I felt this completeness. And it was like everything became these light particles, and I could just merge into it, even though it had its dimensional form. And I could just merge with it. And then I was putting the key, so I had walked, I'm putting the key in the front door, and I'm back to Susan.
Yeah, right.
Right?
Interesting.
And of course I'm not telling you is that I started training with a shaman at that point, who was a political refugee from Peru. And he had shape-shifted in front of me to kind of, in a way, convince me to train with him.
shifting
into an animal in
right.
front of my face.
Yeah.
Right? And that makes your mind go like
that's
this.
something that's been coming up strong with me for the last few weeks. Yeah.
Well, that's
couple of different
interesting.
people,
Yeah. So he said to me, I'd like to train you, because he saw something, I don't know what. So I had started training with him on, becoming one with the elements, opening your energy up, which I really needed, because I was weighed down by everything that
you're working on.
I was working with, So I needed that outlet sort of thing. So I said,
and nature is the best medicine, really.
True. And so I got inside the door and I'm like, what the hell just happened, you know? Yeah. And I remember ringing this friend and they put me onto some psychic, right? So I'm ringing this psychic woman and I'm crying and I'm telling her my experience and she goes, oh, that just means you're going to die. She said, you just had a premonition of your own death. And I was like, far out. So then I was crying even more, thinking, I haven't even fallen in love, really, and I'm going to die. But I started having these really weird experiences before that, but also I would be praying and there would be, you know how it is, there'd be one person that would come and see me that my heart would just, every part of my being wanted to help them. You know, not just one part, every part of my being wanted to help them. And that's when I discovered that this co-creation thing that goes on with people. So we all have agendas of each other, we all have perceptions of each other. So if I held that person, every time I thought of them and every time I saw them, if I held them in this vibration of oneness and recovery or whatever it was, that image that I'd like to see them as, that's what happened to them.
Right, okay.
Right? Because most people look at victims like that and they go, oh, the poor bastard, the poor thing, and we feel their pain and we go into, we want to know, we're curious, we want to know what really happened and everything. And so we start to match that pain energy with each other. And we
That's
keep
a form of
each other.
Codependence.
Well, yeah, but it's also co-creation.
Yeah.
We're doing it all the time.
Right.
Right? So we're co-creating with that person. I see it with kids. Like teenagers, I'm going to skip now because I'm going to go on to teenagers. But parents would ring me and go, okay, no, I'll just finish something. So I'm working with all of these people. I have a child. I go, I don't want to work with these people anymore. And then I moved into a spiritual field because I felt I just couldn't do it with a child. You'd understand that. I just could not do it. And sometimes some of those patients would become obsessed with me. Right. So I had all these challenges and things like that. So I didn't want that around my son at all, that vibration. Because I had these nice things happening, but I also had demonic visitations. I was slapped out of my body a few times because they had demons attached to them.
Right, sure.
Right?
Yeah.
So I had to go into this whole journey of learning how to unbind spells. I had a friend who was an anthropologist who dedicated his life to magic and learning about all the different types of magic. And he really helped me understand a lot and what to do on an energetic level as well. So I had that support. So then when I finished doing that, I decided to be open and honest about the fact that I'd had these, I was getting this information and everything and go into a more spiritual path. And I needed to figure out a way to make money when my son was just a baby, because you know how I told you I was working and then I pushed him away and I'm thinking, how can I make money that can support us? So I started having families with troubled kids coming to stay with us.
Okay, right.
And I'd work with them, but I'd work with the parents, not the children.
Right, sure. Yeah.
Right? Because if the child is behaving badly, it's because of the parents, not the kids. Always the parents would give me their kid. I had it just recently. Someone contacted me about their son and it was like, okay, I said to her, look, I'm happy to talk with him, but I need to work with you, and I need to know what's going on with you. And she chose not to have an appointment with me because now the focus was on her and not on the child, who she's saying is the problem. Look, here's my child, you fix it, and then bring it home and we'll be happy family. But what's going on in the family has created the child.
That's right.
So I used to have the families come and stay with me. They didn't pay a lot, you know, but that way I could keep my son there. The kids would all play with each other.
Sure.
So it was easy. And then, you know, then I would get parents ring me with teenagers. And they would say, oh, I've got this teenager, you know, they're knocking down walls and doing all this stuff, you know, getting into drugs or what have you. And I'd say to them, oh, okay, that's an easy thing. Hold the love. Hold the trust. And they go, what the fuck are you telling me that for? That's bullshit, you know.
Can't I just discipline them? What
can't
works?
I just, you know? And I would say,
yell at them.
But you had that baby that you had a loving connection with. And now they're behaving like a teenager does, pressing up against you, right? Giving you a power struggle, and you've turned on them. And now
it happens so often.
That's right. And now you're putting in them your opinion of who they are. You've lost who they were just a few months ago. And now you're projecting an image onto them of being a certain way. Not only that, you've gone to your friends, you've gone to your parents and relatives. They've all gone in and put their 10% in. So now this child, who is an energy form that is being co-created by its community, is suddenly a problem.
Right. Yeah.
And it's
in the eyes of the community.
It's not going to get out of that problem until the people around it start to hold it in high esteem. And trust it and respect it. And people think that's too easy an answer. Well,
it's an easy answer, but hard to implement for a lot of people.
It's very hard to implement because the answer they want is turn the TV off, lock him in his room. Obviously, if your kid's on a complete crackhead, you would lock him in a room or something. But I'm talking about just normal teenage behaviour of, I don't want to study that anymore. I don't want to, you know, play the game anymore. I'm pissing up against my father, you know.
But that's all natural, right?
It's
that's
normal.
a natural part of growing the growing
but
experience.
We're saying it's not. We're trying to raise kids that are like little soldiers that don't have self-expression. And self-expression comes like, that's what I was going to tell you. The common denominator that I saw in people who'd been abused versus people who haven't in the same household is the child that really believes they have the right to say no and still has contact with their will. So if the child believes, like say you get the different ages, so depending on who's the eldest, who's the youngest, you know what I mean? Like that can also influence it because one will be given more responsibility than the other.
Right, sure.
So your needs are not important to me. Your will is not important to me. Your intuition is not important to me. So it goes back to don't make your kids hug and kiss people they don't want to. Don't make your kids connect with people and things they don't want to. There's a difference between disciplining a child to wear a safety belt and a helmet to pushing them into the arms of someone they don't want to be around.
Exactly.
You know, and some parents don't see the you know, the difference between the two. And if you've broken the will of your child, they're more like, if you've got two kids in a room, they're going to be the target.
Right.
The predator knows which one doesn't have
the will. Yeah.
It's definitely like the rapist knows how a woman walks down the street if she's going to be easier to rape than another one. You know, they just know. So it's the same with kids. So the biggest thing you can do is give your kids the freedom to say no. To honour who they are and what they like and what they don't like intrinsically. And hold your teenagers in high esteem.
Hold the love.
Hold the love for them.
Yeah.
You know, who they are as a being.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I was lucky my son wasn't too bad, but I think it's because, you know, when you have the terrible 2s and 3s, right? And teenagers, it's the same. So if they're an asshole then, they're an asshole then.
Yeah,
Right?
Yeah.
So the biggest thing that I found with the little ones was choice. So you don't say to your kid, oh, what do you want for dinner when they're 2?
Yeah,
because they don't know.
Yeah.
They don't know what's in the fridge. They don't know what they like as yet.
Sure.
They might say ice cream, you know. But you might say, do you want pasta or rice?
Yeah.
Beans or eggs? Do you want to wear blue or do you want to wear red? If you give them a choice, there's just between the two things, they feel empowered.
Right.
They don't need to challenge you.
Yeah.
And it's very simple, but everybody thinks it's really hard.
Yeah. Not necessarily.
Yeah. You know, so even when I see them in the supermarket and they're screaming and throwing a tantrum, I always feel for them because they can't handle the energy of the supermarket.
Yeah.
It's not that they're being naughty.
Sure.
You know,
There's just a lot going on.
It's just a lot going on.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think all of these things are being exposed now, which I'm very grateful about. I see a lot of testimonials on YouTube of people being involved in these, you know, rings and exposing and telling their truth, which I think is important. But what it's all doing, all that truth, is it's opening up everything. And it's opening up more and more truth to come out. Because look, I used to have a radio program and it was called High Spirits. And so I used to sometimes have topics like that, but most of the time just light, you know, educating people on good things. But whenever I spoke about that, because I can get really intense with it, and at that time I was still very angry about it as well, that it was going on and no one was talking about it.
Sure.
So I had a lot of kind of intense energy behind my words. I would kind of bash someone up with it, you know, you got to do it like this. And I figured out that doesn't work very well, does it? But, you know, I was young. Sure. But I know on the radio program, whenever I used to say, oh, you know, I'd start talking about that, people would crucify me.
Really?
Yeah, they would say, how dare you talk about kids having sex? I'm like, they're not having sex. They don't even know what sex is.
Yeah.
How can you say that? Oh, we don't want to hear that stuff.
Yeah.
It's like, well, it's happening.
Well, that's the thing, though. For a lot of people, it's hard to listen to or learn about.
It's really hard,
And for good reason. I mean, it's obviously a terrible thing.
It's a horrible subject, and we don't like to go into that frequency because it empowers it in some way.
Well, and that's what allows it to happen, though, as well, is the fact that it's not spoken about and people find it hard.
And that's where the New Age has a role to play.
Yeah.
Because it says, just go into the positive, ignore all of this. And that's why you've got all these flaky people wanting to create something, but they can't because they're putting all the practical stuff, the foundation.
They're looking at all the light rather than the necessity.
A public figure. I want to be famous.
Yeah.
But they're not willing to put any work into it.
Yeah, or offer really anything of any substance.
Yeah.
Because it's much easier to focus on
or even study anything.
Stuff. Yeah.
You know, it's like, look, my son's 26. So when he was at school, when he was in high school, I'd say to his friends, oh, you know, what do you want to do? What are you going to study when you leave school? They all said, I want to be a manager and I want to make 250, you know, grand in the first year and all this. I'm looking at these kids and I'm going, yeah, right, you know, because they came from wealthy families and they just thought they'd be just like their parents, not seeing that their parents studied, lived on baked beans, worked really hard and sacrificed to get to where they are. And these kids just want everything as soon as they leave. It's like, none of them got it though.
Of course.
None of them got it. They all got a big surprise.
Yeah.
I was sitting there going,
just you wait.
You know, no, I don't mind if they get it or whatever, but
it
was just that they would all be sitting around in the cafe. Oh yeah, I'm going to be a manager. I'm going to, you know, I'm going to earn this or earn that. And I'll be thinking, oh, I'm done. Where are the Indians? They're all managers. So anyway, helping people inspires me.
Nice.
seeing people move. That was the
Yeah.
one thing that I used to like seeing when I work with people was, and that's why I get a lot of recommendations from other psychiatrists, was because if you had someone going to a psychiatrist for 20 years, talking about the same thing, on medication, talking about the same thing for 20 years, they would come to me and 6 months later they'd have work and be interacting with the community, maybe taking up some sort of art or something like that, not needing the medication and actually knowing who they are. Huge difference in 6 months.
Yeah, right.
You know, and they couldn't figure out how I was doing it. But how I was doing it was not working with this.
Something grander.
Yeah, I was working with their heart.
Yeah.
Because that person had at some point innocence.
Yeah.
And that innocence had been taken away from them. And all I was doing was inspiring the innocence again in some way by taking away the pain of what that was still heavy. You know, when you have even an accident, when you have anything that hurts you, it's multi-layered and it gets stuck in your energy system and it needs to be removed. And that was the one thing that I saw mainstream psychiatry doesn't do. And it still today doesn't do it. Same with psychology. You will get occasional. I reckon most of them are lazy.
Okay, yeah. They're
No, I really do.
Don't care anymore.
They get very lazy because look, they see a person every hour for 8 hours a day. Most of them work 5 days a week. Okay, I know I couldn't do that.
It's a lot, yeah, to do. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Without losing some part of me. So it's just like next, next, it's an hour.
Yeah.
So I worked 6 to 7 days a week, 24 hours a day. But I didn't work 8 hours a day, if you know what I mean.
Right, sure.
Right? So if I saw someone, I gave 2 hours. I didn't give 1 hour because if we went into something that was really deep, I couldn't just say, the next person's there, you better piss off.
Yeah.
So I would give them time to kind of go through what they needed to go through and give myself a bit of a break.
Right.
So I didn't see as many people.
Yeah.
And because I specialised in that one thing, but I was always on call, you know. So it's tiring to be on call, but it is what it is. So I didn't see people like every hour around the clock like that.
But it was less about work for you than it was about life.
It wasn't about work, yeah. Look, and a lot of people I did on donation. I worked with donations, so some people used to pay me $2 because that's all, most of these people can't work.
Yeah, right.
So, you know, they don't have any money.
Yeah.
Unless they've got a will. I did have wealthy clients that came from wealthy families. You'd be surprised how many of them are really not doing well. You know.
Oh, I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah.
Actually.
So I was lucky in that regard. I'd charge them more, so I could do this. So I it used to even itself out.
Yeah.
But I reckon that a lot of them are lazy. Because even now, like, I would see someone and I'd say, okay, what have you been doing? And they would say, I've been going to someone. How long have you been going to them? 5 years, 6 years. And I'm thinking, oh my God.
Yeah.
Okay, what have you covered? Oh, well, just covering this.
Yeah.
The first thing they started with. I'm like, it's 6 years on. What's going on?
Yeah, I know, right? Yeah. The same thing happens not just in like traditional medical fields, but also in the spiritual world as well. Like spiritual scene.
Tell me
where
about
instead
it.
of like helping people with an issue to move past it, they just sort of bring them into this clique, or like let's call it for what it is, a cult. And then these people just become just woven into it, and then find it very hard to move past the thing that they were there for in the first place.
I know, I see that quite a lot.
Yeah.
And it's the same problem. So you've been working on this for 10 years.
Yeah. Or
and
you've had how many ceremonies?
Yeah, and it's still not gone.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because it's in layers. So you have to work on it mentally, emotionally, physically and spiritually.
Yeah.
And not one person can cover all those things.
Yeah, and you also have to take responsibility for yourself though too, right? It's not just putting it upon someone else to fix you.
Yeah. Look, I was talking to someone yesterday about this. So I said, okay, I don't think that person needs to go to anyone anymore. I think they just need to action what they know.
Yeah.
And you don't know, like say for instance, you've been working on relationships for a year. You've been going to someone, working on your shit that you were abused and whatever happened to you, and you know, you're clearing it all. But you don't know if it's cleared until you have a relationship.
Right, sure.
Right?
Yeah.
You don't.
Yeah.
So some people just keep working and working and working, and they've still got the relationship over here because I'm waiting till I'm perfect.
Yeah.
But I won't, I'm too scared.
Yeah.
Just in case there's still something that might,
Yeah.
you know, that might happen again.
Yeah.
So they still don't do it. They keep it away. It's the same with, I want to be a writer or I want to be this. They keep it away, and I'm working on it, I'm working.
And then when it's the right time, then I'll do it. Yeah. Then
Yeah,
I'll do
but
it,
actually even if the relationship lasts a month, they've learnt, okay, I've still got some shit.
Yeah.
But I don't know if it's worked until I actually do what it was I've been working on.
Yeah. That's certainly what I found. I was single for a good few years and working on myself, and I thought, okay, cool. Now I'm ready. Now it feels all the right time.
Yeah.
Sure enough, got into a relationship, and all those shits came up again. I was like, oh, I thought I'd sort that out or figure that out. But it's not about sorting it out or figuring out a certain thing. It's just understanding that there's different layers to it all, and it's about. There's so many factors to it. We look at it as such a black and white thing, but there's so many shades of grey when it comes to anything that we're doing, whether it be a relationship, a business, an artistic endeavour, that there is never a space where you're going to be 100% perfect and ready for that thing. That's right, never. So just do it.
You may as well just do it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I reckon that you're right. There are a lot of people that just keep going and going and going and going. It's like
it gets paralysed to get paralysed by it.
And you know, I see a lot of therapists who actually, I don't know how they do it. I mean, I'd like to know how they do it. I don't know how they do it, but somehow they hook people. It's like they hook into. I can't do it. Maybe there's just something wrong with me or right with me. I'm not kind of sure, but they hook into a person's energy, and then that person is just going back and back and back.
Yeah, right.
And I'm going, how do they do it? Like, people come and see me and we might do a healing, and they'll say, oh, should I come and see you again? Without fail, I say to them, when you think of me, when you have something else come up, then you can call me. Right? Because I need to honour your intuition. This is all about you finding you, not me.
Yeah. So not booking him in, not saying, okay, let's book in for another 4 weeks. Yeah.
No, I don't.
Yeah.
I always say, when you're ready, you'll know.
Yeah. And that, for me, they're the people who are the most in their authenticity and the most in their integrity, who operate that way. Yeah.
Yeah. Because I just can't bring myself to take away their ownership of themselves.
Yeah.
Because I'm all about independence.
Sure.
So, you know, I spend 2 hours with people, and in that time we'll do clearing, but I'll also give them some skills. You know, what to do if it happens again, how to hold their energy, how to push back on energy, which I learnt from that shaman all those years ago. Yeah. And I'm still using it today. Skills, you know, and what's really bugging me at the moment is I saw this ad, you can become a shaman for $29. You can get a diploma in shamanism. And I'm thinking, oh my Lord, what's going on with the planet?
Yeah.
I can do an online course. So online, right? I worked every week, once a week, for 2 years with that guy. Yeah. Yeah. You know, and I could never call myself a shaman.
No.
Ever. Yeah. Yeah. Because for me, you have to be, you have to live it.
Definitely.
You have to, it has to ooze out of you. It doesn't with me.
It has to be you.
It has to be you
sure.
to be a shaman.
Definitely.
You can't just do it on the weekend.
Exactly. Yeah. Fair weather shaman.
It's a lifestyle.
Yeah.
So for me,
that's something that really put me off that, for like wanting to enter into this spiritual world for a good few years. It's like, and seeing people like that, like there's a guy, a friend of mine, who started seeing this girl who did like a weekend course on animal shamanism.
Oh, yeah.
And she operated out of a shop in Fremantle, and she started advertising herself as a shaman after a weekend course on animal shamanism. And I was like,
that's really
fuck
bad.
me. There's people that will actually look at that, be susceptible to it.
Innocent, vulnerable people who really need help.
Yeah. And obviously this woman herself was like damaged in her own way. Like, so, you know, love to her, but it's you're right. Like a woman I got very fortunate to meet and become good friends with, who lives in London, based herself out of there now. She spent like 2 years living in Peru, like deep in the jungle, like really. And she lives that. She's back in London now, but she lives that. And they're the people that you want to work with. Yeah,
but they're the people who don't put themselves out the front either.
Yeah. Oh, she's good with it. Yeah, she's good with it.
Oh, well, then she's lucky. I don't know how to do it. I'm only just.
But maybe that's not your path just yet on that.
Maybe.
Like, on doing that.
I mean, I'm only just starting now. Yeah. I got just a few months ago, Susan. You need to start owning what you know.
Okay. Cool. Yeah.
So I went, okay, and that's when I started doing the videos.
Yeah.
Because I was also getting frustrated because there's mixed idea. Look, I reckon we've got so many different species of people living on this planet, cultures, races, but interdimensional species as well, from other planets, from, you know, interdimensional beings and all that. That there is such a variety of what truth is.
Yeah, right.
So what's truth for one person may not be truth for another.
Definitely. Because
of the level they're learning.
Yeah.
You know, maths for a 5-year-old is completely different for an 18-year-old.
Yeah.
But they're both the truth.
Yeah, yeah. That's right.
You know, so it's just in layers, and I see that as I'm opening up to these new truths in layers.
Yeah.
And I can't cope with that truth if I'm here.
Right.
Because it's just too much for me. It blows my brains out. So I've had to kind of go really slowly and steady because I like to be grounded in the thing. Everything I do is grounded. Like, people say to me, how have you earned a living in what you do for all these years? So I think it's because I'm grounded.
Yeah, for
I
sure.
don't do anything. Because most people I see in the spiritual, okay, I did have a foundation that wasn't spiritual in the beginning, you know. So I'm quite grounded in my knowledge of how the mind works and how people think and people's motivations for things. So I've got that foundation, which is good, but even if I didn't have that foundation, there's no reason why I wouldn't be successful anyway as a healer, you know.
Yeah.
So, but because, you know, we were talking about someone earlier and I said to you, I think she's the most amazing young woman I've met. Yeah, she has a lot of knowledge. And it all streams through her most of the time. Yeah.
For sure.
So, and again, very grounded person.
Yeah. But when, I think it's true with everyone that can do this, but especially her, when emotions become involved though, that's when it sort of dissipates and becomes quite difficult.
Well, holding emotions, because I held the emotions of people who were deeply wounded, that's not a problem for me. Actually, I find it easier to... If you cut yourself, I can't cope.
Yeah, okay.
Like when my son would have an injury, I would have to say to Yanni, you deal with it, I can't look. You do,
right.
You know, I can't deal with the physical. Yeah. But emotional, mental stuff, not a problem.
Oh, okay.
Spiritual stuff, not a problem. You've got an entity in your house that's screaming at you, no worries, I'm there. I'm not even afraid.
Sure, yeah. So it's just about then working with what you've got and working what works best with you and understanding self-awareness, really, isn't it?
It is.
The more self-aware of yourself that you become, is that a right way to say it? That the better in service you can be and better able to help other people.
That's right, yeah. But I think it's got to be your intention. Like if your intention is to make money, that's what you'll do. Yeah. That's why it drives us crazy, but we see these people who are, in a way, charlatans, but they're making a lot of money because their intention is to make money.
Right.
They don't have a lot of knowledge, but
or substance.
That's their intention.
Yeah.
And, you know, my intention has never been to make a lot of money.
Mm-hmm.
I like money
Mm.
and I enjoy it,
Mm-hmm.
but that's not my motivation.
Right. Yeah.
It's not my number one priority.
Sure. Yeah. I think for a long time though, it was very hard if that was your priority not to be able to make money. But those times are changing now. We were talking about this earlier too. I'm thinking
changing.
like even on a grander scale with like someone like Elon Musk is doing with Tesla and SpaceX, like his
It's amazing.
will is to create a energy efficient future renewable energies and be able to like explore the riches of the solar system, and that's his motivation. The money is just a byproduct of it. It's not like what's his name, the oil tycoon from the early 20th century, Rockefeller, where it was about just darkness and density and monopoly and, you know.
So I didn't know about him until I spoke to you, and then I watched some of his stuff. And I thought, wow, he's very impressive.
Musk or Rockefeller?
Musk.
Right, yeah.
But I was quite impressed with him, actually.
Yeah. Interesting guy, huh?
Very interesting. Very alien.
Yes.
Energy.
Definitely.
Yeah. So I think he's tapped into something that is quite good, and that's that whole thing that I was saying about the money going into different hands and
that's right.
trickling down.
That's right.
And
because I was listening to something the other day, and I talked about Elon Musk and the money he's accumulating now, and also like they were saying like, imagine what he's going to do with this then, because like he started PayPal, for example.
Oh yeah, that was
sold out of PayPal, and then that's what gave him the money to create or to buy Tesla or SpaceX, etc. Solar City. What's he going to do next? Like, yeah,
it's pretty interesting.
It's interesting, yeah.
Yeah,
you know,
what
with
are the
this
possibilities?
this value that we're creating and what it's going to aid to benefit the world, rather than to lock it down and make it become more isolated or disconnected, which was the old model.
Yeah, you know what? My guide said to me quite a number of years ago. They said that we will have communities where, as a group, we will co-create like weather domes. And what they said was that there would be sort of, I don't know, machinery or whatever, you know, something there. But we would, with our collective consciousness, decide what we wanted the weather to be.
Okay.
And that machine would create it.
Okay, interesting.
Right?
Yeah, right.
And then, so that just popped into my head with regards to Musk.
Yeah.
You know, this technology of being able to amplify what people are thinking.
Yeah. Which I've got a feeling is what we used to do on this planet in past civilizations, the ability to be able to do that.
Yeah.
But Musk is working on something like that. It's called Neuralink. Have you heard of Neuralink? What that is? Basically, so we've got this understanding of artificial intelligence that's coming along in the internet, etc. And he's got a real sort of
he doesn't
like it at all.
I'm with him.
Yeah. So his idea is, rather than try and fight it, is that he's created this thing called Neuralink. Was like, you know, we've got three layers to the brain. We've got the reptilian brain, the mammalian brain, and then we have the neocortex. And they all sort of struggle to work together with each other, right?
Yeah. I'm doing these exercises at the moment to join them together.
Awesome. Actually, I'll speak to you about that because that's something I'm really interested in too. He's creating Neuralink, which is going to be the fourth layer. It's going to basically be this internet network made of electrodes, which are placed into on our brains as this fourth layer that does two things. It interconnects all four layers together, and then it has the ability to be able to then project out as well. So that we'll be able to just talk telepathically, and we'll be able to, any information we need, we'll know. But it's not just that ability. That's going to be then like the pinpoint to the period that we then builds upon itself in a way that we've got no. And then what happens is
the kids that are born after that already have it because we've ignited it.
Possibly. Yeah,
they don't need the machine.
Yeah, they've got the layers already connected.
Oh my God, I love
part of evolution, yeah. And so then also, you know, instead of the risk of being destroyed by artificial intelligence, because artificial intelligence works out that human beings are just a blight on this planet, and we'll actually there'll be a symbiosis that we can work together to actually propel ourselves forward. into what Terence McKenna would describe as the grand attractor at the end of time, or
that's amazing.
source, or God, or whatever you
Well,
want to
see,
call it.
he's tuned into something.
Yeah.
See, I reckon there are a few people that are really paving the way for the rest of us.
There
which
are.
I'm
And in groups
very
of
happy
people,
about.
though, too, right?
Mm.
It's something that going on. We're all, this conversation that you and I are having, we're not the only people having them.
That's true.
You know, it's going on all around the world at the moment.
Yeah.
So it's powerful times.
Yeah, so what I was thinking, wouldn't it be good if we all got together, like, you know, not like a Christian church, but if everyone got together once a week and meditated on a particular thing about their community?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, it's
That'd be
great.
really cool.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. So, because what I notice is that people often go to these things, or to sacred spaces, or to these things about themselves.
Right.
What am I going to get? What are you going to
Yeah.
give me? And they go to these sacred places and they go, I want, you know, a
Yeah.
partner. I want a new house. I want a new
Yeah.
car. I want. And it's me. But these communities or these people aren't thinking about this sacred site. What can I give you? How can I
Sure.
enhance you?
Yeah, exactly.
You know?
Yeah.
And I just think that we don't do enough of that
Yeah.
in these groups. You know, it's all about what you're going to get out of it,
Yeah.
not what you're going to co-create
Yeah.
together.
But I know I started off that way. It was very much about me. Like, what can I get out of it? What do I need to learn, or what can I learn? And it was like then it moved. It had its own natural journey where it progressed into like, okay, now how can I be of service? Like, how can we work together? But I sort of had to be, you know, that phrase, have to be selfish to be selfless.
That's true.
Yeah, that was something that definitely I've seen, and friends of mine as well, a necessary part of the journey.
But we are evolving into the point that we have to start co-creating
Definitely,
together.
yeah.
We can't keep going like this.
Exactly. What about me? And yeah. Nice
Oh.
one, Susan.
There
We
you
might
go.
end it on that note.
Yeah, we will.
Community, working together. It's all
Working
very
together
important.
as a community.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do. I put it out there every day.
Yeah.
I connect up. And I did this thing when I was in Europe. We had a group of friends, and what we did was we would come together and meditate.
Mm-hmm.
I did the same over on the East Coast, but this particular group, and with the group that I've got here, we all decided what we wanted. When I think of that person, there's a particular symbol I have to think of, or an image, so that it's that whole thing of holding the love or holding the space for someone else.
Yeah.
So that every morning in my meditation, I send that out.
Yeah. Nice.
And we watch what happens with each other and what's.
Yeah.
But we did it with a group in Slovenia, and every one of us achieved what we wanted to achieve.
There was the backing of the collective.
Yeah.
It's also one of my practices. I don't do enough. Is also to do it for those who we don't feel like the Donald Trumps of the world, for example. Like to wake in the morning and just to give our love to, you know, the Donald Trumps, the Vladimir Putins of the world as well.
Yeah.
And, you know,
Oh, I think Vladimir Putin's a walk-in, but then again, you know.
I walk in.
Yeah.
What do you mean?
I don't think Vladimir Putin is now is a different person, soul, to who he was a few years ago.
You get that feeling? Okay.
Yeah.
In what way?
He's just different.
Okay.
There's something different about his energy and his eyes and what he's doing.
Yeah. I sort of got that same feeling too, without being as wherever as you. But yeah, there's something different going on. Yeah.
I know someone who knows him,
Mm-hmm.
and there's definitely been a change with him. And what he's doing in Russia, we don't hear about because everybody's got to hate the Russians for some strange reason. But he's doing some
because it sells
pretty...
missiles, that's why.
Yeah, you know what he's... Yeah, but he's also offered... Well, he offers anyone who wants to do bio-farming or anything, he will give them free land and a sum of money to start with, because he really believes that Russia will be able to feed the world with organic, healthy food.
Be like a food bowl.
Yeah. So I think that's kind of nice.
Yeah, I don't know the guy, and I'm sure he's probably done some
There's some weird
interesting
stuff.
things, but it's
but anyway.
it'd be interesting to be a fly on the wall in his home and his offices, that's for sure. Yeah, can you
He
imagine?
likes to take his shirt off.
Do his judo.
So that's true. I like to do that too.
Yeah.
But normally I don't give them any energy.
Yeah, I know, right? Yeah, except for whatever is going around. But
I don't know. I just sort of got this message a number of years ago that if I give my energy to people that I don't like, I'm empowering them.
But if you gave them your love, though,
to behave differently. I think there are certain, I don't know, there are certain people or energies that don't respond to love.
Right, okay. Incapable of it. Yeah, so maybe it's just more for yourself than I guess those sort of practices. Opening up your experience and awareness of love. Yeah, even if the other person's incapable of receiving it.
That's true. Yeah. I like it though.
The forgiveness thing and all that goes with it.
Radical forgiveness, I love it.
Yes,
yeah.
Definitely. All right, Susan. Thank you very much for being on this podcast today. It was a pleasure and an honour. How can people find out about you? And
or you can go to my website, lovelightandtruth.com.
Okay, cool. I'll put links up on the show notes as well below, so check that out.
And send it to me and I'll put it up and send a link to you.
Okay, sounds great. Thank you. Yeah,
You're
much
welcome.
appreciated. All right, well, thank you very much, everyone. I hope you enjoyed the conversation. If you had any questions about anything that we discussed or
it was very diverse, wasn't it?
It was diverse. I like it that way, though. I like to go off and bring it around. It's good.
Okay.
It's an enjoyable thing to do. From the many different diverse things we spoke about today, please let us know. And until next time, we'll see you then. Take care.
Bye.
Thank you, Susan. I
You're
really
welcome.
appreciate that.
You're very
That's
welcome.
fantastic.
Yeah.
Whew.
Oh,